is 5 to 8. Because you see, when I arrived here, I discovered that the crown of my watch had broken, and I couldn't adjust it to your time. So I'm still on Israeli time, but in terms... No, that's what I was going to say, that a minute is a minute, and I'll make it brief. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you back from the issues that we discussed yesterday and today, like environmental security, like population issues, like men on Mars, and things like that, to the nitty-gritty of security and war. In fact, I'm surprised at how seldom we've heard the word war over the last 2 years. You might think that security is all about putting men on the moon. Even less have we heard the word fighting, which, according to Clausewitz, is the very heart of war. And I sometimes wonder what that means. Does it mean that armed forces and defense establishments are becoming more broad-minded? Or does it mean that they are degenerating and have nothing to do? So instead of fighting and preparing to fight, they are talking about population and things like that. I leave the question open. I do, however, think I know why there is so much, or so little, talk about war and fighting. It's very simple. It is called nuclear proliferation. Nuclear proliferation has put an end, or almost an end, to large-scale warfare between states. Since 1945, not once did two important states fight one another. Not once on any scale in 65 years. Every single war, I repeat, every single war was waged by or against unimportant states. Every single war. And since I consider that nuclear proliferation will continue, there are now 9 nuclear countries, but there are going to be more. By my calculation, about 40 and 50 states would be able to build nuclear weapons in a short time if they wanted to. Many more would do so in a longer time span. There is no question that nuclear proliferation is going to continue. Every state that feels itself seriously threatened will build nuclear weapons, if necessary. The record so far, as I've just said, indicates that wherever nuclear weapons appear, large-scale interstate warfare has disappeared. You here in South Asia are a very good example of that. And you know the details better than I do. I also postulate to you, ladies and gentlemen, that a reliable defense against nuclear weapons will never be found. And in fact, I always tell my Israeli friends who are working on the Arrow missile and so on, that the only good thing about the Arrow is that the Americans pay for it. Otherwise, it is pure waste of money. Neither we nor any other country will ever have a reliable defense against nuclear weapons carried on ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and so on. Not because it cannot be done technically, I'm no expert on that, but because in the nuclear context, when the destruction of maybe human civilization is at stake, the word reliable itself is meaningless. 100% are not enough. 1,000% are not enough. 1,000,000% of certainty maybe are enough. But as the recent, only a few days ago, failure of the most recent American anti-ballistic test indicated, we are never going to get 100%, not let alone 1,000 or 1,000,000%. Mutual assured destruction has now been under attack for decades. It is very easy to find theoretical holes in mutual assured destruction, and while it is fragile, and while it is unreliable, and while it is declining, and while it is dying, and all these are terms that you often meet. But practice has shown that as a situation, not as a strategy, it has prevailed for decades, and I expect it to prevail in the future too. With mutual assured destruction prevailing between the most powerful countries, in fact, any countries capable of building nuclear weapons, which are the majority, if not yet now, then in a few years will be the majority. Conventional warfare too is disappearing. Conventional warfare is disappearing, ladies and gentlemen. Since 1945, all conventional wars have been waged either between minor countries or by some major country against a minor one. Very often, as in the case of, let us say, Russia against Georgia or the United States against Serbia, so minor as to make you wonder, why on earth did this war have to be fought, given that Milosevic did not pose a danger to anybody, outside his own borders, of course. Conventional warfare, ladies and gentlemen, is disappearing. If you look at it in terms of the number of people who are preparing or fighting it, then you will see that relative to the population of this earth, the number of uniformed soldiers since 1944, 1945, which was the peak, the all-time peak, has gone down by 85%. 5 out of every 6 have already gone home. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about the future, I'm talking about the past. And wherever we look, we see cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts. The same is true for major